Hi, Kevin Wright, back with another property finance tip. Now, the subject for this week is what is the right type of mortgage if you're doing short-term letting, holiday lets, serviced accommodation, that type of thing. So if you're into short-term letting and you want to find out how to do the right mortgage, keep watching. Now, short-term letting has got tremendously popular in property investment circles in the community over the last few years, and offering people that stay away either for business or for pleasure the alternative to being holed up in a hotel room has become pretty compelling. They only got to look at the rise of Airbnb and obviously booking.com and other sites like that to see how big this has got. So of course, a number of investors have jumped in on that bandwagon. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because the return you can get if you can fill out your property can be 2 or 3 times the return of a standard AST long-term rental. Of course, it's more hands-on than that, so you've got a lot more to do with that than you would with a AST, but nevertheless, it's proved attractive for many people. But the issue is, how do you get the right mortgage for serviced accommodation, short-term letting? Maybe you've seen the other video I've done on short-term letting, where I explain why it's really dangerous for you to use standard buy-to-let mortgages if you're renting for terms of less than 6 months. If you haven't watched that, go find that after this video, because that'll make sense. If you can't use standard buy-to-let mortgages for short-term letting, what can you use? Well, there are 2 solutions here. First, I'm going to give you the more established of the 2 uses, and then I'm going to give you the workaround if you don't fit into that box, shall we say, but you still want to do short-term letting. Here's the issue for mortgage lenders, and this is why, another reason why standard mortgage lenders don't do it. It's very difficult to predict your income, your rental income with short-term letting when you compare it with normal AST letting, and whether you've got a single AST or whether you've got an HMO with multiple tenants, all on separate ASTs, it's pretty easy for a lender to predict the income that you're going to get. And then if they can predict the income, they know how much you can afford to borrow to be able to afford to pay the mortgage. Let's just say you've got a small HMO with 4 tenants in it, and the rent on each room is £500 a month. Just make it really simple. So your total rent is £2,000 a month. Now, that's going to be regular as long as you've got 4 tenants, and a lender would work on the assumption that you would have. Rent's £2,000 a month. They now know that if they pitch a mortgage, a certain percentage below that, you should have enough rent every month to pay the mortgage. Pretty simple. Now, apply that same process to short-term letting, and you can start to see where the problem is. Because how do they know what rental income you're going to get? With short-term letting, you could be full every night of the month. You could easily only have it rented out 5 nights and you're in a month, and you're empty for the rest of the month, or any other combination or calculation. So it's almost impossible to predict what the rental income's going to be. So how do they know how much to lend you and make sure that they're not overcommitting you on a mortgage you can't pay back? Bit of a dilemma, isn't it, really? Commercial lenders lend on these types of short-term letting. And if you think about it, they're the natural home for this, because what other types of businesses do short-term letting, renting by the night? Well, guest houses, bed and breakfasts, hotels, small boutique hotels maybe. If you want to extend that out a bit further, even kennels and catteries. Okay, different clientele, but it's the same principle. So commercial lenders are very used to lending to short-term let businesses, and they've got an established practice to work out how they calculate the income. What they require is for you to be an established trading short-term let business. In business, trading for a minimum of 12 months. Why does that matter? Because now they've got a short-term let-in track record, whether you're doing holiday lets or Airbnb, doesn't really matter. But now they can see two things. Firstly, over the full 365 days, what percentage of those nights or days were you occupied? So what's your occupancy level? Is it 75%? Is it 83%? Or what is it? So in other words, how good are you at filling the room or filling the house? If you're just renting out or the flat, of course, if you're renting out by the room or by the property. So that's the first thing they want to know. And the second thing they want to know is, how much money do you make doing that? And both of these are important. They want to see that you're a profitable business, and they want to see that you're good at renting out your property on a short let basis. If you're renting out 99% of the time, but you can't make any money, that's not a good business, is it? So how good are your occupancy rates historically? How good is your profit margin? Why is it 12 months? Well, because there's seasonal variations in every area in short-term letting. So they want to get a full picture over a whole year so they can see the dips and everything else. Then they'll base their how much they can lend you based on a combination of those things. How full you can make your properties, how much money you make from filling out your properties. So if you're a experienced trading short-term let business, then you qualify for that. But what if you're not? Because everyone has to start somewhere, don't they? So, every business starting out in short-term letting has to have a start point. And if you don't meet that criteria for the first 12 months, how do you do it? Well, there are different ways, but sticking just as how you're going to do it on a mortgage, then there is an option, and there's a handful of standard buy-to-let lenders. Now, I know I said that standard buy-to-let lenders won't lend on this, but there's this small group, and it is pretty much a handful, not much more. And why can you use them if you can't use the majority of lenders? One key reason. Do you remember I was talking about, in my other video, I referred to the clause in the terms and conditions of all the standard mortgage lenders, buy-to-let mortgage lenders, that the minimum rental term is 6 months. This handful of lenders have removed that clause. So in other words, they will allow you to do short-term letting, even though in every other respect, it's a standard short-term contract, even though in every other respect, it's a standard buy-to-let mortgage. So there's your solution. Now, they don't need any experience. And the reason they don't need any experience is because they don't work on short-term income. They don't assess it on short-term rental income. They assess it on how much it would get if you were renting it out on a standard long-term AST, 6 month, 12-month AST. So they'll give you the mortgage based on that, but they'll permit you to rent it on a short-term basis, holiday lets, Airbnb, service accommodation, the like. So there's your two ways that if you're into or you want to get into short-term letting, that you can do it. So for the experienced operators, you can go down the full commercial route, give them your occupancy levels, give them your accounts so they can see the profitability, and you'll have a range of lenders ready to go on that. If you're starting out, simplest way is to use one of the handful of lenders that have taken out that offending clause for prohibiting short-term letting out of the T&Cs. So there we are. That's it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed this, and hey, have you subscribed? do that clicky thing there and that other belly thing there, and so you don't miss any videos, because I bring one of these out every week. And before you go, just hang around a bit, because I've got something else you might be interested in.
If you enjoyed watching this video, did you know every Monday morning at 8:30 I do a live Facebook Q&A. So if you want to start the week with checking out some answers to your property finance questions, click the link here.